Hey everyone, hi, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be covering a best books of the year list for 2024, and it dovetails with the last list I just put up. And this is for Amazon UK. I just did one for Amazon US, and I thought that was a really fascinating list. And this is similarly fascinating, partly because it's in conversation with the Amazon US, and partly because there are new to me titles. So I am going to go across the pond and see what that Amazon has said are the best books of the year. They do have a #1 best overall book for the year, and I'm going to save that for last. They also have 3 separated categories. So they have kids and YA, which I'm going to start with, nonfiction and fiction. Hopefully I will have my stuff together, and I will leave timestamps down below in case you want to skip to a very particular section. But otherwise, let's just jump into this. If you're new, real quick, then no, I'm Shelly and I love books and reading. Subscribe if you like the vibe. Now actually, let's go ahead and get into the meat of this video. The first book is a picture book from an author and illustrator that I absolutely adore, and it's Oliver Jeffers' Where to Hide a Star. We have his signature quirky characters, and in his signature illustrative style, I'm really happy to see Oliver Jeffers has made this list. Some of these questions you'll have to actually answer for me. So the next book is Hamza's Wild World, packed with fun animal facts. Now, Hamza, I believe, is on television, but perhaps television for more of a UK audience, or it could just be that I'm not really into, or I don't watch children's television, and children's television that is packed with animal fun. But what I would imagine is that Hamza is the British equivalent to the American Wildcat Brothers, who have a television show exploring wildlife and animals, wild animals. So I would imagine that that's the equivalent, but I don't know for sure. What I can say is that Animal Facts is they're always a big hit with children. My own children really love looking up and reading weird, wacky, wild animal facts. The variety on this list is fantastic. So the next is Chefs Wanted, more than 40 delicious recipes for curious cooks by Allegra McEvedy. This is a cookbook targeted to the age group of 7 to 11-year-olds. Next up is a YA book, The Disappearance of Rachel Price by Holly Jackson. This actually sounds really fascinating. So it is about a young girl, Belle, whose mother disappeared some years ago, and now a true crime documentary about her mother's disappearance is coming to town, which is dredging up all of these feelings for Belle. And interestingly, Belle is trying to decipher what is actually true and what is fabricated and what actually happened to her mom. Next up is King of Nothing by Nathaniel Lasore, and it's about a young kid, Anton, who's starting to get into a lot of trouble at school. And though he's okay with it, his mom most definitely is not. So she signs him up for a local activity group, and there he meets Matthew, who is the biggest loser in school, and from there they strike up an unlikely friendship. This is for fans of Jason Reynolds, who I personally really enjoy his books, and it's supposed to be a wonderful blend of heartwarming and comedy. Next is a middle grade fantasy entitled Peregrine Quinn in the Cosmic Realm by Ash Bond. This is going to be about the main character, Peregrine Quinn, who has been hearing her godfather's stories about other worlds and portals her whole entire life, only to find out that not only are they true, but the portals need saving. And so mystery, adventure, wonder, fantasy explodes from there. Dave Pilkey's 12th Dogman book made the list, which is called Dogman the Scarlet Shedder. So my oldest likes these books. They're silly and really good to get kids into reading, but the 12th book, by then, if you're a fan of the series, you'll be waiting on the edge of your seat to read the 12th one, and I'm just surprised that this series continues. Next up is a romantasy book, and it is entitled Reckless by Lauren Roberts. This is the second book in her Powerless trilogy, and the little tagline for it, which kind of tickled me, is be swept away by this kiss or kill romantasy trilogy taking the world by storm. From that, I would gather that it sounds a bit enemies to lovers. but I could be wrong. Another middle grade fantasy, and it's called Evenfall, the Golden Linnet. This is by Alexander Armstrong, and it sounds like it's a hero's journey starring a young boy who is a reluctant hero. It's blurbed on the cover by Richard Osman, who says, a Da Vinci Code for kids and for fans of Philip Pullman's Dark Materials, Percy Jackson, and Harry Potter. The final book in this children's and YA section is Skandar and the Chaos Trials by A.F. Stedman. Now, this is going to be the group that we're following, their third year of training, and they have to complete a series of terrifying trials. There's unicorn riders, friendship, allegiances, and bonds that will be pushed to their limits. We've entered nonfiction, and we're starting with Mad Woman by Bryony Gordon. Gordon is an established writer, though not one that I'm familiar with, and now she's reflecting on the last 10 years of her life. She's thinking about the stage of her life she's in right now, experiencing perimenopause, and also considering the global pandemic that she's now been through. And this book focuses again on the last decade of her life. Another memoir. There are quite a few memoirs on this nonfiction list. This is The Trading Game, A Confession by Gary Stevenson. So Stevenson grew up in East London with pretty much nothing, and then realizes that he has a knack for economics and for numbers, and ends up being the youngest trader at Citibank. And so it's going from this rags to riches, but also this really, really intense financial environment. A book that's actually been recommended to me several times in the comments of a video that I put up recently entitled Why Everyone Stopped Reading. The book that's been recommended that's on this list is The Anxious Generation: How the Great Rewiring of Childhood Caused an Epidemic of Mental Illness. This is by Jonathan Haidt? Oh my goodness. I hope I'm saying that right. Anyways, it is about the impact of screens in the impact of screens on childhood, on children growing up now, and the way that that's connected to mental illness. On the US Amazon list, we had Ina Gardner's memoir, which is, I believe, more about her career. And there are a lot of food books on the British Amazon list, including one called So Good, Food You Want to Eat, designed by a nutritionist, and it's by Emily English. So it's talking about foods that make you feel good, that fuel your body, and there are recipes included. Another food book is Otolini Comfort, a cookbook, which is focusing on global flavors in comforting recipes. I think there's also some reflections on Otolini's childhood as well. Nexus, A Brief History of Information Networks from the Stone Age to AI. This is by Yuval Noah Harari, who wrote Sapiens, and that was the history of humanity spanning hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. And now, instead of focusing on humans and humanity, Harari is focusing on information and information networks. It sounds like this author is doing a very similar thing, but focusing on a different topic. This list is really revealing how little I know about pop culture. We have another memoir, From Here to the Great Unknown, and this is Lisa Marie Presley's memoir. Looks like she was the daughter of Elvis Presley, and only from the description did I realize that she was also married to Michael Jackson. Now, she doesn't finish her own memoir. She gives the materials to her daughter, Riley Coe, and then Riley actually finishes the memoir for her mother. So lots of layers, lots of interesting connections with celebridom and the celebrity world. I'm sure it's packed with a lot of juicy information. The memoirs keep rolling in. Next is Shattered, a memoir by Hanif Karishi. This I'm going to read the description of. So in late 2002 in Rome, Hanif had a fall. And when he came to, he realized he could no longer walk. He couldn't do nothing without the help of others and required constant care in a hospital. So began a year-long odyssey through the medical systems of Rome and Italy with the hope of somehow being able to return home to his house in London. So it's about his experience, both losing everything, all of his physical abilities, but also being confined to a series of hospital wards. The second to last nonfiction book, and it's called The Siege, the remarkable story of the greatest SAS hostage drama. So, on April 30th in 1980, 6 heavily armed gunmen burst into the Iranian embassy in London, taking 26 people hostage. A tense 6-day siege ensued as millions gathered around screens across the country to witness the longest news flash in British history. It is about the unfolding of those tense 6 days, and I believe Ben McIntyre is a well-established author, so we're in the hands of someone experienced. The only nonfiction book that overlaps the 2 Amazon lists is Revenge of the Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell. I have read all of Malcolm Gladwell's work up until 2020, I believe. And so I read the original Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell, in which he explores how pandemics start. Now, interestingly, he wrote that book before the actual COVID-19 pandemic. And so now he's going back and revisiting those original points of that original book now that he's experienced the pandemic. I'm going to go over the crossover books first in terms of both Amazon lists. The first is There Are Rivers in the Sky by Elif Shafak. This is going to be a historical fiction covering 200 years, and I think we follow a droplet of water. From those in my comment section of the last video, those who like Shafak's work also really enjoyed this book, and there was one naysayer out there that said that they had read 2 of Shafak's work and didn't care for this book. The second crossover is The Ministry of Time by Colleen Bradley. A lot of people said that they did not like this book, and yet there was one person on the other side that said they loved the way that the drama unfolded in this story. It is about plucking, it's a time travel book, a fantasy book, and it is about plucking someone from history that at the moment they would have died, plucking them to a present day. It covers a lot of different, I think, historical events, and again, very, very polarizing book, because those who loved it, or the one person that said they loved it, truly, truly loved it, and then there were a couple of people that said it was cheesy and overwritten, kind of boring, and the book did not work for them. The next 4 books are pretty much universally praised. So we have The Women by Kristen Hanna, which is a historical fiction book focusing on the women who lived through Vietnam and were connected to that war in some way, shape, or form. We also have All the Colors of the Dark by Chris Whitaker, which is a mystery thriller book set in 1975 about women who have gone missing. Then there is James by Percival Everett, which is a retelling, reimagining of Huckleberry Finn by Mark Twain, but done with this incredibly clever twist. And also there is The God of the Woods by Liz Moore, which is a mystery book that has multiple perspectives and multiple timelines about a wealthy family who owns a summer camp, and 2 children from the wealthy family have gone missing, but the first child had gone missing decades ago, and in the present day now their second child has gone missing. So what in the world is happening there? I have read The God of the Woods, which I really liked, and I have also read James by Percival Everett, which I absolutely adored. Books that didn't overlap with the American Amazon list. The first one is The House of Flame and Shadow by Sarah J. Maas. This is the 3rd book in the Crescent City series. I've read one Sarah J. Maas book, A Court of Thorns and Roses. Is that right? ACOTAR, yeah, okay. And I didn't love it. I have a whole review of it, but it's me just besmirching the book. For those of you who love Sarah J. Maas, please, I'm so glad, and keep on loving her, absolutely. For me, it was just not my thing. Next up is Jaded by Ella Lee. This is the author's debut work, and here's what the little summary has to say about it. A young lawyer wakes up in the morning after a work gala with no memory of how she got home the previous night and must figure out what exactly happened and how much she's willing to put up with to make her way to the top of the corporate ladder. Definitely sounds like it gets into the icky like ethics, like work ethics, the icky side of work ethics. We're almost done. So Our Evenings by Alan Hollinghurst is next. Now, this is about a young man, and it seems like we're going to follow him through his life, but the beginning of his life sounds kind of incredible. So the young man is Dave Wynn, who is the son of a British dressmaker and a Burmese man that he's never met. At 13, he gets a scholarship to a top boarding school. And from there, he has this world of possibilities, but he's kind of this underdog because he comes from a single mother and he is mixed, and he's growing up as this kid who got the scholarship to the elite school, not somebody who is there because they're paying for it. So he's an outsider in many ways, and it seems like we follow his life, which sounds beautiful and wonderful, full of questions and longing and differences from his environment. This sounds like a Shelley book through and through. And the last book is, and their number one book is You Are Here. So a fiction book by David Nichols, a well-established author mostly known for his book One Day, which I actually read some years ago and thought it was good. It's quite a melancholy book. We are following these two people and we're checking in with them on the same day every year, and we go through years, like decades of their life, and see where they're at and their ups and downs, which was really good. This is a little bit different. We're not focusing on one day. We're actually focusing on a friendship. Michael, who has come undone because his wife has gone and now he is by himself. And then you have Marnie, who, and they're both hikers. And so somehow they go on a hike together for 10 days. And it's about that time that they spent together and deepening their friendship. Now, I'm not sure if they make friends while on the trail or if they just happen to come together right before the trip or something like that. But anyways, it's about a friendship and hiking out in the woods with that one other person while you're going through a very specific time in your life. And I thought, what a great premise for the book. And also, it made it to their number one, so I'm guessing that it's probably pretty good. So yeah, that's it. Let me know all of your thoughts about these books, whether you read them, you want to read them. I want to know. I'm curious. So that's it for me. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks for being here, and I will see you all in my next one. Bye.